Tad Talk Web is back. Woo! That game last night, it was the best of games, it was the worst of games. It was a tale of two halves. It was phenomenal. Let me just say, um, it'll go down as one of the most epic Alabama games of all time. Glad we came out on the winning edge of it, the winning side of it. But it was, man, I mean, it was just happy, sad, And I gotta give credit to the offense and defense of Bama. They sat there and fought and fought and fought and fought. Let me just say that game plan for the first half, I mean, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, we punched Georgia in the mouth and it just kept going. It was in offense and defense. It was amazing. Let me just say, hats off to Georgia. They didn't stop fighting. They didn't lay down and say, "Oh well, we just ain't got it today." I mean, that's what championship teams do. They just keep fighting and fighting and fighting. And the amount of fourth downs that team made was astounding. I mean, it was like, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I think Ken Womack is amazing. To me, he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. I mean, you can say what he gave up, this, that, and the other. How many times did he have them third and long or third down, and they had to go for it on fourth? I mean, just to stay in the game, to have a prayer, they had to. And everybody says, "Well, they converted so many fourth downs." You can't ask a defense to stay out there, especially in the second half, for the whole second half, and the offense not to really come up with anything. Yet they kept them to third down every single time. And Georgia had to go for fourth down. They didn't have a choice. Hats off to Milroe. I mean, the kid was throwing and gunning. Ryan Williams was everything is billed. That wheel route to Jan Miller that Milroe threw, was the most perfect route. If he don't get it, nobody gets that ball. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was, wow. It was absolutely amazing. I watched some pieces of the game again, and phenomenal game. Like I said, Ryan Williams was probably one of the best players on the field. They couldn't stop him. He had one catch there in I think it was the fourth, to keep that final drive going. It was a horrible pass because Milroe was interrupted by that pass rusher, caught his arm, and he still went down there and got it. But just that last touchdown that won us the game was phenomenal. I mean, you talk about bad. It wasn't the greatest to pass. He had to slow down to get it. He got it, spun off two defenders, outran a third. I mean, it was just absolutely. That's one of the plays of the year. You can't say it wasn't. And Xavier Brown, being a freshman, and he did give up a touchdown in the game, but you talk about swatted the one away. They went back to it. They thought they could beat him. They went back to him again, and he picks it off. And that was a good pass. That was a good pass by Beck. No ifs, ands, or buts. Absolutely phenomenal. And just the fact that the Alabama defense kept going back out on that field, and the offense couldn't produce in the third and the fourth quarter except for that one drive. And in the field goal, it was amazing. They never gave up. They never stopped. Kane Womack kept bringing the heat. He was bringing strange looks of 8, and I think sometimes, if I'm counting right, 9 guys on that defensive line. And Beck was looking confused. Now, don't get me wrong. Beck proved his NFL draft stock in that game. I mean, he kept slinging and gunning and running. Like I said, Milroe only had one pick, but it was a fluke. The tight end grabbed it and kept bobbling it and bobbling it and bobbling it. And let me go back to Hollywood, Ryan Williams. That one pass that was thrown bad, and he bobbled it and then kept fighting it and then got the pass that led to that field goal. Phenomenal. And let me just say, Jeremy Bernard, he stepped up big. I called it early in the week. I said Bama has got to hit the 10 to 13 to 15 to 18-yard passes consistent, and they were doing that. Now, the only critiques I have, and this kind of comes down to the offensive coordinator, when you know Kirby Smart and their DC, I think Schumann on Georgia, they're going to figure out what you're doing with Milroe. They're going to, and what they did, they put 2 spy linebackers on the outside and they pushed them out. They basically, like we said in NCAA 25, they shaded down, and their only job was Milroe, and they figured that out. In that situation again, go back to what we were doing the third quarter. It was working that we kept going away from, and that's throwing underneath, because they were leaving that wide ass open, leaving it open. That's the only critique I could say offensively that we had was you're going to have to do that. Like you blew them out with Jalen Milroe first and second quarter. They were selling out on that third and fourth, and that was absolutely evident. So, maybe going forward, work some more passes because that was working third and the fourth. Like I said, we had some penalties. They had some penalties. They got away with some that were clear penalties. We got away with some clear penalties. We came out with a win, and that's really, in the end, that's all that matters. And you can say what you want to say about the defense. Kudos to the defense. If we had lost that game, that literally was on the offensive coordinator play calling. It wasn't on Milroe. It wasn't on Williams. It wasn't on the running backs. It wasn't on the offensive line. That OC's got to know, hey, they're selling out. That look was shading down those linebackers, the QB spy. The middle of the field's wide open, and we were killing them with them early, and then we would go away from it. I don't know why. I don't know what they were seeing that I wasn't seeing. But the middle of the field was wide ass open, and Milroe was on. It wasn't like he was off. He was absolutely on. So, and if you want to run Milroe, then do a run pass option. The RPO plays, because the design runs they were looking for it. They were selling out on it. But anyway, that's my only critiques, and it was just so phenomenal. It was, like I said, we were all texting each other during the game, and oh my God, what's going on? And I can't believe this. And that we may have slightly offensively taken our foot off the gas, and it was kind of evident. The only other critique, and I'm done with critiques for this video, when we were in the third and the fourth quarter, they weren't eating clock. I mean, they were barely taking it down to like the 17-second mark. Eat clock, baby. Eat clock. That's my only other critique is, eat a little bit of clock. Like I said, game ball, Xavier Brown with that pick. They picked on him all night. We have a lot of talented freshmen out there. Wow. They kept up. And, Georgia's got NFL talent everywhere. Every section of the field, they had talent. It didn't matter if it was defensive backfield, wide receivers, linebackers, defensive line, quarterback, tight ends, everything. It was all tier 1 talent, and it was to DeBoer, you kept cool. You kept the guys cool. You and Womack went after it, kept going. Even Sheridan, the offensive coordinator, kudos to you guys. You came up with the W in the end. That's what matters. Definitely we could make some corrections. That's fine. But you know what? Kudos to you guys. And you made it happen. You kept it going. Wow. Absolutely. Wow. And you faced an NFL caliber quarterback with NFL caliber receivers. Like I said, we made a few mistakes, no big deal. We corrected those, and we will correct those throughout the season. And I can clearly say it right now, right this week, right now, your top 4 teams, and one of these 4 will win the national championship. And in no particular order, you got Bama, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, period. One of those 4, you can sell out the farm. One of those will be national championship teams that will win it all. It was just the highs and the low. You go from 1 minute in the third and fourth to high to just depressed, to high to depressed. And hats off to those young men playing out there that just kept going. It's like when you have a sledgehammer and you got to bust up a driveway. They just kept hammering. And also the resilience of the Georgia players. You kept, look how many fourth downs you had to make just to stay in the game. Not to win the game, to stay in the game. So that shows you something about their mentality and their their ability to come back and just keep going and their resiliency. Like it was amazing. I don't want to play Georgia again. I'll be honest with you. I mean, more than likely you're going to have to play an SEC team you've played once again if you get to the playoffs. But woo, epic Alabama Georgia game. Loved it. Can't wait to lock in and have a little bit easier games the next 2 weeks. But anyway, hats off and roll Tide.